In this video, I'm going to break down the brand new leader of the Avengers, Captain America, First Avenger, from the brand new core box in Marvel Crisis Protocol. We're going to be breaking down the character himself, some play styles that I think work really well with him, taking a look at some other Avengers that he can bring along with him, plus a couple of splash characters as well. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. And yes, welcome to this, the first in a little mini series that we're going to be doing a deep dive on all of the characters from the brand new core box that was recently announced by Atomic Mass Games. And we're going to be starting off with one of the OGs himself, Captain America, the First Avenger, aka Steve Rogers. As I mentioned, this is going to be a little series where we're going to break each of them down, and make sure you stick around until the very end of the video, because we have announced already that we are going to be giving away a core box once this is released. So at the end of the video, you'll be able to find the details as to how you can go about entering yourself into that giveaway for the core box. So without further ado, let's take a look at Captain America First Avenger. Okay then guys, so Captain America First Avenger, aka Steve Rogers. First of all, he's going to be a 4-threat character, pretty standard for all the Captain Americas that are out there. He's going to have a defensive stat line of 443. As always, not quite as good on that mystic side. 6 stamina on his healthy side. He's going to be size 2. He's going to come on a small base, and he's going to have a medium move. Let's take a quick look at his 2 attacks. He has 1 builder and 1 spender. So his builder is going to be shield bounce. Very different to the other shield attacks that we've seen on the other Captain Americas. So this is going to be a range 3. It's going to be 5 dice, and it's obviously going to cost 0 power. And after this attack is resolved, this character gains power equal to the damage dealt. On a wild and a hit, he's going to get bounce. It's going to let him target another character within 3 of the original target character, and it can be any distance from Steve. And then obviously that follow-up rule doesn't have that bounce. I really like this. It's a great way of being able to generate power. And when we get further down, you'll see how easy that is going to be able to get off. His spender then, Brooklyn Brawler. This is also going to be range 3. I really like that this is range 3. It's going to be strength 5, and it's going to cost 4 power. Now you may be looking at that and thinking 4 power for a strength 5 attack. Well, let's take a quick look, because he's going to add dice to the attack roll equal to the target's size. So the bigger the character is, the more value Steve is going to get from this attack. On a crit, he's going to get push. After this target is resolved, if the target character is size 3 or less, this character may push the target character away short. And then on a wild, a hit, and a block, he's going to get frontliner. After this attack is resolved, this character may make an additional Brooklyn Brawler without paying the power cost. The attack must target a different target character. This additional attack does not have the frontliner special rule. So actually for 4 power, you at the bare minimum are going to be able to get off, or at least potentially get off, 2 size 6 attacks if you're attacking a small Ant-Man into a small Wasp or a Rocket, but realistically for the vast majority of targets out there, it's going to be at least 7, sometimes up to 8 dice. And remember that the more dice we're adding into that roll, we've got a much better chance of being able to get that frontliner off. So what you probably want to do here is, if you do have a couple of targets that you've got in mind, you may want to target the larger character first, meaning that you're adding more dice into the dice pool, giving you a much better chance of being able to get off that frontliner. Let's take a quick look then at his leadership, and this is really what is going to bring everything together for Steve Rogers, First Avenger, and really what we're going to build the other characters around when we start looking at other characters that work really well alongside him. So Earth's Mightiest Heroes, obviously affiliation Avengers. Once per turn, when an allied character is attacking during the modified dice step, if there are 1 or more hit results in the attack roll, it may spend 1 power. If it does, it changes one of its results to any other result. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat here. This does not allow you to change failure results. Now, if the character in question has the ability to change failures, reroll failures, or modify failures, sorry, then they will be able to, but this ability alone isn't going to let you do that. So why do I think this is such a good leadership? Well, first of all, it absolutely speaks to my play style when I play MCP. I play very, very aggressive lists, and I look to win most games I play via attrition. That doesn't necessarily mean trying to table my opponent. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, not just in Marvel Crisis Protocol, but in most games out there. But how important it is to flip your characters from the healthy side to the injured side, especially when it comes to VP scoring, especially when it comes to contesting points. Obviously, a healthy character will always take precedent over an injured character when it comes to scoring, and I really, really like this. So what we're going to be looking at is both in affiliation and some splash characters who I think work really, really well, trying to maximize that ability. So what we're looking at is really characters who have triggers. They need a wild, or they need a crit, or whatever it may be, to get some extra benefit with the attacks that they do. Rounding out then, he's got one active ability, which is going to be charge. Really, really like this. It only costs 2 power, which is pretty standard for a charge, but it does just mean because of that range 3 on both of his attacks, Steve is able to get around the board quite a bit more than some of his other counterparts with the same name. And then lastly, on his healthy side, he also has perfect block. It's going to cost 2. When this character is targeted by an attack, it may use this superpower. It adds 2 dice to this character's defense roll against that attack. So that 443 stat line goes up to pretty much 665 as long as you're keeping that 2 power on him at all times. And as I mentioned, with how good that shield bounce is, I don't think power generation is going to be a problem whatsoever for Steve, especially when we're combining it with the Earth's Mightiest Heroes leadership. Let's take a quick look then at his injured side. So almost everything remains the same. He does lose a stamina. He goes from 6 to 5, but he does become a lot more difficult to take down because of I can do this all day. And the innate ability that when defending against attacks, so just all attacks, this character adds blanks in its defense roll to its total successes. This is really, really good. It mitigates anything like pierce or any sort of pseudo pierce that are out there, because even if they turn one of those successes into a blank, he still gets to count them. So not only is he great on the front line at dishing out some damage, he's also going to be extremely tanky, especially when he is on his injured side. So that's a little breakdown of Steve. Let's start and take a look then at some of the characters in affiliation who I think you're going to want to take alongside him. So starting out, we're going to go with the OG Tony Stark. Yes, I've not gone with the new version. Look, you need 3 threats in your squad, or in your roster, sorry, when you're building out your rosters. And you often want 3 threats in your squad as well. And Tony Stark as a 3 threat in Avengers is extremely good. What's he going to benefit from here? Well, on his repulsor blast, he has a push, and that is an unlimited push. What do we mean by that? He can push any size character away short. So really, really good for some board control. And also on that homing rockets, maybe you do want to get that explosive off just for some extra damage. It's going to work really, really well for him. Little downside to this is that you're not going to be able to run ricochet blast, which I really do like with the new Captain America, because he is Captain America first Avenger, so it will not work with him. So you do lose access to that, but we'll come on to that in a moment. Iron Man is just an absolutely solid back point holder with those range 4 and 5 attacks. He's significantly tankier because of that invincible Iron Man. Less concerned about getting Friday AI off, but if you do have the power, then you've got that capability there as well. So he's just an absolutely solid choice under any of the Avengers leaders, really. Well, nobody screams attrition like the OG Hulk. I still prefer the OG Hulk to the new Immortal Hulk. And look at all of those triggers on all of the attacks that Hulk has there. So on a wild, he's going to get another push, again adding an additional level of control in there that we don't always see in the Avengers. We've got Hulk smash. On a wild, he's going to do a stagger, and on a wild, he's going to get a throw. So just making him far more consistent than he would otherwise be. Every now and then you'll have a whiff and you'll miss that throw or you'll miss that push. This is just going to make Hulk a lot more consistent, and I think he's going to be an absolute staple under the new Steve. Next up then is going to be a couple of characters who I think are also going to be part of that core roster for Captain America First Avenger. And starting out, we have another Captain America. Remember I told you about that ricochet blast? Sam Wilson. Look, Sam Wilson is already such a good three-threat character, even if you take his leadership ability away. He needs that ricochet on his shield thrower to be able to generate that extra power with that second attack. He's also got charge, he's got airlift. He's just an absolute solid character. Brings some additional control, but don't underestimate his Red Wing Assault either. He's going to be able to throw a size 3 character, which is pretty darn nice, and it gives some additional movement as well. Keeping on the theme with other Avengers, I also really like Luke Cage. Again, another absolutely solid 3-threat. He brings some more defensive technology that we do lose by taking out the original Steve Rogers and putting the new one in with his Too Dangerous to Ignore. He also brings an absolutely amazing tactics card as well with Heroes for Hire. And this guy is going to be very difficult to take down. 433 stat line with 6 stamina, but that unbreakable skin means that he is extremely difficult to take down. And his Power Man Punch on a double wild, it is going to stagger the opponent. Being able to stagger the opponent with a 3-threat character off a builder is absolutely huge. Yes, he's also got Sweet Christmas and the Throne there as well. But for me, being able to manipulate that builder to get those double wilds to be able to do a stagger on a big character is going to have a huge impact on the game. So next up then is a character who you don't really see too much anymore in the Avengers. He was played a lot in the early days, but it is Thor, Prince of Asgard. He is a pretty solid 5-threat nowadays. Yes, he could do with a little tweak with some dice manipulation and things, but that leadership from Steve is going to really help him. Making sure that he gets the throw on the strike, making sure that you are doing some damage when you do a for Asgard. And also, one thing I didn't mention with a couple of the other characters, when we're playing attrition-based lists, having throws in your actual attacks, but also having access to throws as superpowers is a great way of being able to do some additional damage without using an action. So I think there's a really good place for Thor within the new Steve roster. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Okay, next up then is going to be a newer character, and it is Gwenpool. Once again, Gwen has got a pretty interesting set of skills that she brings. She's very attrition focused. This end toward target, missing your wild on there and not getting scorched earth can feel pretty bad, but if you are able to do it, it's going to be absolutely great. Gwenpool's bag of tricks as well, needing a wild and a hit to do either a bleed, shock, incinerate or poison, almost always guaranteeing. And then again, she's got a pierce on her stabby swords as well, so she's going to be able to maximize that leadership from Steve. And she's got some pretty good tricks up her sleeve with travel through gutter space, being able to place herself within 3 for only 2 power. She's also got retcon powers activate, which I really do like. Again, just giving her additional ability to absolutely maximize her damage output. Next up then, we have a couple of twins who I really like as characters, but we really don't see a lot under any other leaderships for the Avengers. But starting out we have got Scarlet Witch. Now, Scarlet Witch is already an absolute powerhouse when it comes to damage output, and the fact that she can turn any dice into any other result means that she can actually turn them into those failures, which not only does she count, but if you take a look at her Chaos Magic and take a look at her Reality Contortion on Hexbolt and Cruel Twist, means that she's going to be able to dish out additional conditions, and meaning that she's going to be able to essentially pierce. That's what the Reality Contortion is, pierce one of your opponent's successors. I think Scarlet Witch could be really good under Steve. She also brings some great tactics cards. Whims of Chaos is not to be underestimated. Any healing now within the game, any ability to remove conditions is at an absolute premium, since a lot of cards have been taken away, or they're character specific or affiliation specific, or they are restricted in the form of patch up. So I think she could be really good under Steve, and definitely some great mystic attacks that otherwise they are lacking a little bit. Next up is we have got Quicksilver. Obviously both of these characters are affiliated as well, but that supersonic strike, being able to manipulate the dice so that you can get the result that you want. I mean, he has 2 triggers on that attack there. He's got the dash and he's got the velocity. So if you can manipulate the dice so you're getting both of those off, he's able to make the dash and then make the attack, or make the attack and then make the dash, and he can do it all over again. Now remember that he's only ever going to be able to use the Steve leadership once per turn, but I think Quicksilver is a little bit of an underrated 3 threat, and I think he could work really well under Steve's leadership. Okay guys, next up is a couple of in-affiliation characters that you maybe weren't thinking I would put on any list, but starting off, we do have the Merc with a Mouth, Deadpool. Again, another solid 3 threat character. He does have that healing factor as well, but really what I'm looking at here is his bang. Being able to get this off 3 times in a single attack is absolutely crazy, and Steve's leadership is going to help you be able to do that. I really like him. He's a fun character to play, but I actually think he could bring some ranged attacks to the Avengers squad, and I actually think he's a pretty good character. Like, you know, I know a couple of people have been saying that he needs a bit of a glow up. I think he's really solid, especially when he counts as healthy. When he's on his injured side, that's going to help a lot as well, and he can benefit from the exceptional healing card, as can, and I can't believe I'm doing this, the OG Wolverine. Yes guys, I have put OG Wolverine in my list of characters that could work really well with Steve. Look, what's really good here is when we combine what Steve has with the best at what I can do. So this character immediately makes a move action followed by an adamantium slash attack action. When making this attack, each wild in the attack roll counts as 2 successes. This superpower can only be used once turn. If you can manipulate any of your dice to be a wild, not only is it going to count as 2 successes, it's actually going to trigger the bleed and it's going to trigger the pierce as well. I think he could be really good, and he's definitely a character that I've been playing with under Steve's leadership, and for me he's done absolutely solid work. As I mentioned, we've got 2 healing factor characters there as well, so can make some really nice benefit of exceptional healing when you need that clutch save, when you need him to stay on his healthy side or just keep him alive, especially only with a defensive stat line of 4-3-2, that 2 mystic being very tricky to get around. But I really like him in there, and I'd be interested to know if anybody else out there has been trying Wolverine with the brand new Steve. Okay then guys, so they are some in-affiliation characters that I think work really well, but as we know in Marvel Crisis Protocol, we can take any characters in any roster, and as long as we're above that 50% mark, then we can use the leadership. So my first one, and one that has always been really good in Avengers anyway, but it is OG Doctor Strange. Now what I'm looking for here in particular is the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak. On that combination of a crit, wild, and hit, he gets Mystic Binding. After this attack is resolved, instead of inflicting the stagger special condition, if the target character does not have an activated token, you may give it an activated token. Steve's leadership is going to increase the ability or the chances of getting this significantly. So because you're only looking for 2 of those 3 triggers, and then you can pay the force and just guarantee yourself to give that character that activated token. He also brings some really, really nice tech in there as well, and he's just an all-round really good character. I wouldn't take a gem on Doctor Strange. I don't think it's needed. He's already got all of his rerolls from Aya Agamotto, and he is one of the few characters in the game that can modify and reroll failure results. So he is going to be able to use Steve's leadership to take a failure and turn it into a success, and hopefully one of the successes that he needs for that Mystic Binding. Next up, another character that we've already seen quite a lot in the Avengers, but it is Crimson Dynamo. This guy is very, very good. That electric blast dishing out shock is not to be sniffed at. He's a great backpoint holder, but he can also get in the mix as well. He gives some additional defensive tech when it comes to his disruption field, and power is never a problem for this guy because of that electric blast. He's really, really solid. I probably wouldn't take him and Iron Man. I would look at one or the other. They don't do exactly the same thing, but they kind of both play a similar role in terms of where they sit. So maybe if it's, X threat, you could take Iron Man, and if it's Y threat, you could take Crimson Dynamo. But I really, really like him. You guys know I've played him a lot in Winter Guard, but he's also very, very solid, even under the OG Steve. But under the new Steve, I think he could be even better. And rounding it out, guys, is going to be my number 1 pick to take with Steve. And I'm going to explain why, but it is one of my favourite characters in the game, Gamora. I have played Gamora, I don't know how many games, hundreds of games now, because of all of the Guardians of the Galaxy games that I've played. But if you look at the tech that she has, and then look at what Steve can give her, the knock-on effect is absolutely huge, to the point where on her Godslayer attack, she's going to be getting an average of over 5 successes. So how does she do that? Well, she's got a couple of things that's really, really going to help her. Number 1 is she's obviously got access to Steve's leadership, where as long as she's rolled 1 hit, she can turn any other dice into any other result. But if we take a look at Deadliest Woman in the Galaxy, when this character makes an attack, it may change 1 die result to a hit for every wild in the attack roll. And because they both happen during the modified dice stage, and because they both happen at the same step in that, you get to choose which you resolve first. So the obvious thing to do here is you take one of your non-successes and you turn them into a wild, or even a success. It could be that you've got a crit. You've already added your other crits in, then turn that crit into a wild, and then you're going to be able to turn another result into a hit as well. So she's getting double benefit from this. Cosmic Assassin just goes absolutely through the roof. We're still only expecting a result of 5.25, but the fact that she's got the Pierce in there as well means you're knocking off some of your opponent's blocks, and that Rapid Strike is just, because it's guaranteed, is just absolutely brutal. She is my number 1 pick for a splash character under Steve's Avengers. I want to give a big shout out to Pat and Joe, 2 of the players who I'm going over to Copenhagen with. They put me onto this, and I've tried it a couple of times, and oh my word, she cuts through the battlefield like a butter through knife. And I really like it because it's a character that I absolutely love. And if we are getting all of that power from Godslayer, it means we're able to get off more Cosmic Assassins. She's also got Assassin Leap as well, where she can push her, she can throw herself into another character. That's 3 damage incoming to your opponent where she takes none. So again, a great way of being able to finish another character off. Yeah, she is absolutely amazing in the Avengers. But let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think. And there we go, guys. They are just a handful of characters who I've playtested that I think work really, really well under the new Steve from the brand new core box. I did mention at the beginning of the video that we are giving a core box away. Starting from this video on for the rest of the series, the way that you need to enter into there is to simply do three things. You need to make sure, first of all, that you've subscribed to Richmond Gaming. Why haven't you done that already? But make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. And then you need to leave a comment down in the comment section below. And for this video, as you can probably guess, I want to know what your favourite picks are for characters either in affiliation or out of affiliation playing under the new Steve Rogers, and the reasons why. It's no good just putting a name. I want to know the reasons why and why you think they work so good. I want to give a big shout out to Leodis Games, the sponsor of the channel. There'll be a link down in the description below. They're an absolutely amazing gaming store. They've just won Gaming Store of the Year over here in the UK, so go check them out. There's a promo code there as well, giving you some discount off your first order. I also want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreons. Huge thanks to you guys. It really does help with the continuing running of the channel. And if you do want to support us on Patreon, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. And once again, there'll be a link down in the description below. If you haven't joined the Discord server yet, head on over there. There's almost 1,000 people, I think, on there now. We're knocking on the door of 1,000 people, talking everything from Marvel Crisis Protocol to Star Wars Shatterpoint to movies and TV shows and comic books. It's a really nice space, and it's where you'll find all of the announcements when we are doing our monthly events. So if you want to take part in our monthly events, that is the place to be as well. And as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.